Okay, let's get going with this evening's talk, which is, according to the program, it is letting go of letting go, abandoning attachment. And all you yogis who have been meditating the last few days, you've heard me say this again and again and again, to learn how to let go, to abandon things, to let go of attachments. But sometimes you've been trying so hard to let go that you get yourselves all tight, tense and frustrated. And there is an art to letting go. And it's called, in this particular talk, letting go of letting go. And for those of you sitting in the back here who are not going to be on this meditation retreat, still learning how to let go is so important in life. Because there's so many problems and difficulties you have. Life is so busy. Even it's a lay life. I told someone today the definition of a lay life, why people are called lay persons, is because they spend a lot of time laying around. Is that true? No, it's not. Maybe it used to be the case, but you have to spend a lot of time working and struggling. So it shouldn't really be called a lay life. It should be called, speedy life? Or running around life, or whatever it is. Because it's very, very busy. And every now and again, that was a nimitta there. I'm sure it was a nimitta. I just saw. No, it's only Now, when you are in the world, even you have to let go a lot. Because if you carry too many things around, it gets just too impossible to survive in life. And one of the reasons why there's all these people meditating here today is because when they learn how to let go, they learn this wonderful way of... Excuse me. This wonderful way of... So I let go of you when I attended to the camera, most important. They learn this wonderful way of actually dealing with the problems and the stress of life. Many people actually in the West, they learn meditation and they're paid to learn meditation, or the teacher is paid by the company. Because they want their executives not to get heart attacks. It's cost the company a lot of money when their chief executive suddenly sort of collapses and they've got no one to run the business. And also, if you're an executive, this is a cutthroat world. There is great competition out there. If you want to have the edge and survive, you've got to be sharper than your business competitor. Which is why you can come here to Chempaka Buddhist Lodge on this seminar for doing well in life. This is called Wealth Creation Evening. And how do you do this? It's because why is it that a person gets stressed? Some of you have heard this before, but this was a simile from Ajahn Chah. Brilliant simile. He held up a cup and said, "How heavy is it?" And if you don't believe me, you can try this at home. Take up a cup and hold it up in front of you. And ask yourself, how heavy is it? The point is, after about 30 seconds, it starts to feel quite heavy. After 1 minute, or maybe 2 minutes, you'll start to ache. In about 5 minutes, you'll even be in pain. And if, as a monk, I continue holding this cup like this for 1 whole hour, I'd be a hospital case and a very stupid monk. Because what should you do when this starts to get heavy? Put it down. And you can try it at home, hold it out for maybe 2 minutes, put it down for maybe 15 seconds, and lift it up again. It always works. Now it feels lighter. Now this is what we mean by letting go. We put down our burdens. In the world, you don't throw away your burdens forever, unless you want to become an arahat, fully enlightened, and leave the world. But each one of us can learn how to put down our burdens just for a short time in order for us to rest. When we've rested for a short while, we can pick up the burden again, and it's easy to carry. It actually feels lighter. In fact, it's exactly the same amount of water in this cup. The reason it feels lighter is because my arm has rested. The reason why you can cope with a heavy burden in your business, in your life, is not because you lessen the number of duties you have. It's because you know how to put them down from time to rest, so that afterwards you can carry them with ease. Now, some of you may know me for many years, and some of you may know that I must have done some terrible, terrible bad karma in the past, because I have to work so hard in this life. My favourite saying is, no peace for the wicked. And I'm supposed to be good, so I don't know what the wicked have to do. It must be terrible. Because I work very, very hard. I'm the spiritual, all of my duties. I am the spiritual director of the Buddhist Society of West Australia, the abbot of a big monastery, very successful, also looking after this huge nuns monastery, 583 acres, with lots of nuns there in Western Australia. Spiritual director of the Bodhikusama, of the, Buddha Dhamma Hermitage, just south of Sydney, a spiritual patron of Bodhikusama Meditation Centre in Sydney, the spiritual advisor of the Buddhist Society of Victoria, the spiritual director of the Buddhist Society of South Australia, the patron of the Thamkabok Foundation in Thailand, the spiritual patron of the Buddhist Fellowship in Singapore. And that's only a starter. So, I am a very, very busy monk. Because one time I was giving a talk in Singapore. And when I talk like I do about all these lovely little pieces of Dhamma and strategies for life, at question time this young man stood up and said, Ajahn Brahm, that all makes sort of sense, but I guess it only works in the monastery. These sorts of things you can't put into practice in the business world. It's all right for you because you don't have to do so much. And I said, hang on, mate. I said, what do you mean I don't have to do so much? And so I just recounted just what I'd done that day, getting up at 4 o'clock. This was even when I was on teaching tour. And then getting ready for the day, writing letters, because people give me all this stuff to do. You know, just read something, look at something, write a letter for something or other. And I've got to do that in my spare time, which means when I first get up in the morning before I come down here. So I have to do all of that. And then from the first time which you go out to have your breakfast, it's not really breakfast. Even before you go and sit at the table, people are asking you the questions. And then once they start asking you questions, it doesn't stop until late at night. And even late at night, after you've given a public talk, somebody drives you home, and you're just so tired. And what do they do in the car? Oh, can I ask a question? So it gets so much work. When I described all the work I'd done that day, which is an average day, the man who actually stood at the microphone said, wow, I never thought you worked so hard. He said, you know, I always wanted to be a monk sometime, but now I think I'll stick to being a computer programmer. So it is hard work. But I learned very early on how to let go. So I said that's all those things I'm supposed to be doing. But when I came overseas, when I left Australia, I did not bring my monastery with me. I don't know what's going on over there, and I don't care, because when I'm there, then I'm the abbot. When I'm here, standing in front of you, I'm the teacher of this meditation retreat. When I leave next Sunday evening, I'll leave you all behind. I will not take you as cabin baggage. And that's I let go all the time. Even, you know that some of you have come into the interview time, into the interview period, and you've told me some of your deepest personal problems. And you've talked to me, and I've given you counselling. You know that sometimes that people who do counselling get very drained. Sometimes in those afternoons, 30 slots. I talk to 30 people in the afternoon. If I was a real counsellor and being paid, I'd make a fortune. But you're not in it for the money, you're in it for the happiness. But also, how can you do that? Because I practice letting go when we do counseling. And the way you do letting go when you're counseling is this. You are a dustbin when you are a counselor. Your job is not to sit there and give advice. Your job is to sit there and accept all the rubbish. All the problems about their husband, all the problems about their wife, all the problems about their past, all the problems about their finances, all the problems about their children, all the problems, it's always problems. And it's always people tell me the problems about their marriage, their children, their finances. I became a monk to get rid of all of that, and now you're dumping it on me again. But I don't mind, I'm very happy. So all you need to do is be a dustbin. Say, okay, I'm open, bung it all in. And so they tell me all the problems. It's nice to be able to tell someone a problem, because you know why? Because when you're telling someone else, you're listening yourself. You're listening to what you're saying. That's one of the greatest things of a counsellor, of a listener, to give the opportunity for people to bring out their feelings, to express them, and to listen to them while they're saying it. And they learn. It's one of the greatest things to do. But as soon as somebody has finished, they dumped all of their problems on me. I always remember my teacher's great advice. He was just so smart, Ajahn Chah. Because he said that as a monk, you're a counsellor. You have to listen to other people's problems. But always remember this. If you're going to be a counsellor, you have to be a dustbin. But be a dustbin with a hole on the bottom. So, in other words, you don't keep anything. You allow people to tell you their problems. You receive everything, but you allow it to flow right through you. You don't keep anything. You let it go. You allow it to flow through you. Because the trouble with counsellors, and we're all counsellors to our loved ones or to our friends, is we tend to keep too much. And when we keep it, we attach to it. That's why even counsellors can become very depressed. Even the counsellors can need counselling. But if you know how to be a dustbin, you can receive everything. And because after you've just talked with one person, because you don't keep anything, your dustbin is never too full to listen to somebody else. Isn't that wonderful? You can actually listen to someone who's just, on the edge, just of despair, of loneliness, frustration, don't know what to do. And you can actually listen to them. And when they're finished, you can be so fresh to listen to the next person without a pause. That is called letting go. And this is important in life, to be able to do this, to be able to be friends to each other, allow people to tell us their problems, and to help them in that way. There's no end of problems. So if anybody has their problems, you can always come and dump them here. What we mean there is actually learning how to let go, not to keep things. You can understand what attachment is when you keep things. You keep accumulating things in life. I'm not saying about accumulating wealth. I'm accumulating all the bad experiences of life. Why is it that when we look upon our past, we only remember the bad experiences, what happened to us? I said that the first talk I gave here, the first evening. You remember the story of the chicken farmer who went to the shed in the morning and only... Did I tell that story here? I did tell a story here. Okay, please excuse me, it's a bit coarse in the language, but it only works if I use this slightly coarse language. There was a chicken farmer, and in the morning he went to the chicken shed to collect what the chickens had done the night before. He went into the shed with his bucket and collected all the chicken shit and left the eggs to rot. That was a very stupid chicken farmer. He just collected the dung. The second chicken farmer went into the chicken shed and he collected the eggs. He left all the chicken shit in there to rot. That was a smart chicken farmer. In this simile, collecting the shit, the dung, is collecting all the bad stuff which has happened to you today or in your life. Why do you collect that and leave all the eggs, the good stuff, to rot? If you're a smart chicken farmer or a smart person, you'll just remember all the wonderful experiences you've had so far, and you'll leave all the rotten stuff in the shed. So, which type of chicken farmer are you? Do you understand what I'm saying there? Too often, when we really should be letting go of the bad stuff, we let go of all the good things which have happened to us, all the wonderful experiences which we've had. And the one rotten thing which happens to us today, that's what we collect. And we take home to our wife. Oh, something terrible happened to me today, wife. Now, why is it we do that? We attach to the wrong things and we let go of the wrong things. Sometimes people tell me, but Ajahn Brahm, you learn from your mistakes. Why is it we collect our mistakes? And why is it we collect the mistakes of other people? Because we're not wise. Instead of collecting the mistakes, I collect the successes, my own and other people. And I've found through experience, you learn not from your mistakes as well as you learn from your successes. So learn from your successes in life. Bring them up to the front, like the eggs which you've laid last night. I'm metaphorically speaking, that is. And collect those. All your mistakes, the silly things you've done, leave them where they were and don't bring them back into the house. This is what we mean by letting go. We learn from our successes. We collect our successes. All the wonderful things which your wife has done, which your husband has done, which your children has done, which your parents have done, which I have done. You remember those, not the mistakes. A good example of this. When I was in Malaysia a couple of years ago, I was giving a talk at one of the universities. I forget where it was, somewhere, I think just quite outside of KL somewhere. I forget where it was. But anyway, I was giving the talk and question time afterwards. Someone asked a question. It was a woman, maybe in her mid-20s, and she said, I'd like to seek your advice, Ajahn Brahm. I've just caught my husband lying to me. I can't trust him anymore. Shall I get divorced? That's what she asked me. So, being a scientist, I wanted to be objective about this. So first of all, I gathered some more data. I said, Madam, what are you doing in this university? And she said, I'm a lecturer. Oh, what are you lecturing in? Mathematics. And I saw my chance. I said, okay, let's do some statistics. How long have you been married to your husband? She said, about 3 years. Okay, let's call that 1,000 days, give or take a few days here or there. Now let's assume, for the sake of this argument, that your husband, on average, has said 20 things to you every day, on average, which could be right or wrong. 20 statements per day. That's pretty reasonable, which could be right or could be wrong. So that's in all the time you've been married, that's 20,000 things he's said to you, which could be right or wrong. And now you've found he's made a mistake and he's lied to you. According to probability theory, that means the next time he says something, it's 20,000 to 1, he's telling the truth. To me, that's trustworthy, 20,000 to 1. So why are you wanting to get divorced? 20,000 things he said and now he's made his first lie. What do you mean you can't trust him? When you put it that way, isn't that reasonable? Isn't that logical? That's a trustworthy person. You can trust them if you know 20,000 to 1 they're telling the truth. But why is it that they tell one lie and we want to get divorced? We think we can't trust them anymore. The reason is because we let go, we take for granted, we abandon, we don't even think about all the wonderful, the good things, the truthful things he said. And all we remember is the one lie. Now we're letting go of the wrong things. Why is it that we attach to negativity, to the faults? You've heard that story, the bad bricks in the wall. Why do we only see the bad bricks and not the good bricks? Why do we only see the lie and not the truthful things? Why do we always see the mistakes in life, not the wonderful things in life?